Good evening, my fellow South Africans. After months of efforts to destabilize coalitions across the country, today the ANC succeeded in seizing control of Johannesburg. I warned precisely from this podium a few weeks ago that this is what was transpiring in the background. Now, this was done through nefarious tactics that culminated in smaller parties helping them to conduct the kangaroo-style council meeting in Johannesburg today. The ANC's desperation to get their hands on tenders and contracts from Johannesburg's 76 billion rand budget is now clear for all to see. The outcome of the special sitting of the Johannesburg Council today has led to much speculation about the effectiveness and credibility of coalition politics. So let me begin by stating absolutely clearly that the Democratic Alliance remains completely committed to coalition government and to making coalitions work. We firmly believe that with the commitment of all parties to work for the betterment of the citizens of this country, rather than the narrow self-interests, coalition governments have a vital role to play in the political landscape of South Africa. We believe that what transpired in the council meeting today was unlawful and unprocedural, and it will not stand. The sitting was little more than a sham, and the speaker on debut showed that she is neither competent nor capable of managing a council meeting in the prescribed and lawful manner. Now, Mayor Mpho Phalatse has been the target of a coordinated attack, not because she has done anything wrong, but precisely because she has done everything right. We have always had, and still do have, the utmost confidence in Mpho Phalatse. Mayor Palazzi has achieved 71% of her targets to date, and we have many examples of how the residents of the city have started to benefit from good, clean governance and dedicated service delivery projects for all residents. Now, I started this address by saying that the very concept of coalitions as a way to save South Africa has also suffered because of the events of the past weeks. I can state today, without fear or contradiction, that it is not the system of coalitions that is at fault, but the often mercenary way that some participants approach their role in such a government. This very unfortunate sequence of events started with an unprovoked motion of no confidence against coalition speaker Vasco da Gama. In terms of the signed coalition agreement with all of our coalition partners, an agreement which they entered into under no duress and of their own volition, stated that this position must be filled in Johannesburg by the Democratic Alliance. But due to the treachery of individual members of coalition partners, Vasco da Gama was voted out. We are incredibly grateful to all of our coalition partners, except COPE, who acted swiftly to expel the rogue members in their ranks. After our prescribed processes, the DA renominated Vasco da Gama to fill the vacant position. Upon receiving resistance from coalition partners in the Coalition Oversight Group, we were willing to be flexible on the candidate and went back to our federal executive and nominated an alternate, Alex Christians. Then it emerged that Action South Africa had suggested that the DA relinquish this negotiated position, done as a result of an agreement which they signed, to hand it over to the IFP. Now, this went against the signed and agreed coalition compact, and the DA drew the line, saying that a deal is a deal. Perhaps I'm old-fashioned, but when I sign a document or shake somebody's hand, I regard that as binding, and I must hold to that word. If we revise these processes, it must occur in terms of the procedures that are laid down in the coalition agreements itself. Again, a process which we committed to the other parties we would be happy to participate in. Smaller parties, including Action South Africa, continued then to agitate for the IFP to simply be handed the Speaker's position. After thorough discussion, the Patriotic Alliance announced that they would not support the DA Speaker candidate. The ANC, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and the Patriotic Alliance voted together to select the Cope rogue councillor who had broken the coalition agreement, Colleen Makubela, as the Speaker. Ignoring due process entirely, Colleen Makubela forged ahead to convene a council meeting today to oust Mayor Mpho Phalatse as the mayor, in a process so flawed that we will challenge it in court. It will not stand. It is entirely spurious and false to blame the DA for any of these developments. We have, from the outset, held to the letter and the spirit of the coalition agreement in good faith, and we will continue to do so. When it became clear that the Patriotic Alliance and some other partners were conniving with the ANC, our representatives on the coalition technical task team wrote a letter spelling out in detail what the coalition agreement, which all parties had signed, required. By then, and as it has subsequently transpired, the patriotic deal with the ANC was already done. It is quite clear that the Patriotic Alliance will not accept their defeat by the DA in the recent Prince Albert and Matsakama by-elections, and they have brought down coalition governments in Knysna, in Cedarburg, and now Johannesburg. The blame lies squarely with the coalition partners who refuse to recognize or respect the terms of the signed coalition agreements, which they clearly do not believe are worth the paper that they are written on. If these coalition governments are to work and future coalitions are to succeed, we need our partners to be dependable and stick to the written agreements that they signed. These are not mere suggestions to be amended at whim, but binding agreements aimed at ensuring that everyone is on board and shares the same values, and everybody knows where they stand. Now, we are grateful to our coalition partners who remained loyal, not to us, but to the coalition agreement all through this time, and who honoured and accepted as binding the written agreement we all signed together. Now the Patriotic Alliance, along with Cope's Colleen Makubela, have decided to join the ANC's coalition of corruption. And we again urge voters to remember that whenever you split the opposition, the ANC will win. South Africa needs a strong, united opposition party to take on the ANC and win, and the DA delivers that. We are further disappointed that Action South Africa's Herman Mashaba has chosen to consistently attack the DA rather than call out the ANC for their desperate efforts to destabilize opposition coalitions across the country. His media onslaught against the DA today is little more than an attempt to steer the blame for the collapse away from where it truly belongs. While pointing fingers at the DA, Herman Mashaba has been instrumental in destroying the coalition from within, and was not even present in many of the coalition meetings with the fellow party leaders who were meeting round the clock to resolve these issues. In the interest of full transparency with you, the citizens, the DA will publicly release the contents of a letter we sent on the 25th of September, where we warned Action South Africa that their scheme to violate the coalition agreement would pose an existential threat to the government. But we will not dignify his lies with the social media battle he so desperately wants. Fighting on Twitter is immature, and it doesn't take the future of coalitions anywhere. The voters of Johannesburg have every right to be angry that despite their rejecting the ANC, small parties along with the EFF have now handed the city back to the same organisation that has run it into the ground. We will move quickly to do everything in our power to protect our other coalition governments from this ANC onslaught, and we urge our coalition partners to stand firm in this regard. We will do everything we can to rescue failing governments from the ANC's hands, but often it is the smallest of parties who sell out to the ANC and against the very people who put them into office. We want to assure those who believe in democracy and the rule of law that the DA is not done in Johannesburg. And we will continue to fight the forces that put their own greedy agendas ahead of the needs of the citizens of that city and of this country. Now, we are under no illusions that the fight for resources by these coalitions of corruption will increase as the 2024 elections draw nearer. But we will stand firm and will be guided by not only the values and principles we hold dear, but also by the rule of law. And finally, I would like to reassure all South Africans that what we'll see playing out in Johannesburg right now, as messy and painful as it is part of the journey we have to take if we want to save South Africa from ANC domination. And I understand how angry and frustrated many of you are right now, and particularly if your vote was one of those that was betrayed. But we dare not back down or give in, because that is what they want. Battling through the disruption and chaos, and most importantly, learning the lessons from it, is the price of progress. One of those lessons is about the importance of signing and sticking to coalition agreements. These can be the only basis in which future coalitions can work. And I give you my word today that the DA will never give your vote away to a coalition without a binding written agreement that everybody knows what's at stake and that ensures good governance and service delivery. Treachery will not stand. Subterfuge will not hold, and we will never succumb to the politics of extortion and blackmail. Thank you.